He is the director of our communications office, a preacher, a pastor, and a true-blooded Centralian. Considering that his roots came all the way from Old Central, and he is married to Hermely from a clan of Centralians. And so when you talk of CPU history, he's the man to talk to. Expectations. Okay, let's give a round of applause to Reverend Francis Neil Halandon.
Thank you, Ma'am Huyong, for the wonderful opportunity that you have given to me to share to you for, I believe, about 30 minutes of a background of the culture and heritage of Central Philippine University. The story of Central Philippine University, let me share it to you this afternoon, and I hope that my principle always in the classroom would be learn, relearn, and unlearn. What do you think is the most difficult part on those three? The unlearn, I think. Okay? The learning process, the relearning process is very, very easy, I think. And I believe the most difficult one would be the unlearning. Because you have already learned something, and you would like to believe that that something that you already believed in is correct and true, and then you don't want to unlearn it. But this afternoon, let me share to you a few things. This is the CPU culture and heritage. I'm teaching the class on Baptist heritage in the College of Theology. I have a book on Baptist heritage, and I made a study on CPU culture and heritage. So this would be a summary of that study, and I would like to capsulize it for 30 minutes. Is that okay with you? Okay? So I hope that will there be some coffee for you if you want to? Okay, the Cultural Affairs Office would provide that if you will be bored or get sleepy. Now, the story of Central Philippine University. You know what, my friends? The story of CPU cannot be detached or disconnected with the story of the Baptists. You know, there was a man in a Swedish Baptist, actually. Where do you think Swedish came from? What country? Sweden, not Switzerland. Came from Sweden. And you know what? He was sent by the Swedish Baptist missionary, the Swedish Baptist Union, to Spain. This was in the 1800s. And what do you think is the background of Spain during that time? What is the religious background of Spain? A very strong what? Roman Catholic tradition. Now, here is a Baptist sent to Spain. What do you think would be the result of his mission work in Spain? He would be very what? He was disappointed. He was so disappointed with his mission, and he began to doubt, and he began asking questions. Why in the world did the Swedish Baptist Union sent me to Spain? Dugin sa skuan ko sang akon nga missionary yun, nagambal siya. But you know what, one day, while he was having his coffee, he met a Filipino. And this Filipino was so interested with the discussion on the Baptist beliefs that this Filipino decided to be baptized. So this Filipino became the first Baptist in the whole history of the Filipino tradition. Now, missionary Lund came to the Philippines because of this Filipino. Are you familiar with Roseland here at the campus? Where do you think Roseland is located? Okay, near Gate 6 before you enter the house of the President. Roseland is a combination of two words. What's the combination? Rose and Lund. Rose is the wife of Eric Lund. And that is where the house in which they lived in more than 100 years ago. That's the location. And Rose, actually, sad story what happened to Rose. No, ang iyang asawa, she went crazy because of the what is happening in the Philippines at the turn of the century. And naglunatic si Rose. That's why sometimes when you pass by Roseland, nagkakita nyo da si Rose, no? Nagbabay-babay. Okay? Anyway, going back to the story, here is the Filipino whom Eric Lond met. Sino ngalan niya? Braulio Manikan. Sinusubong ayan may bata nga ngalan niya si Braulio man. Duway nagiguro, no? Doon nahuya naman ang mga parents magpangalan si Braulio. But this is one of the popular names during that time in the 18th century. Braulio Manikan, he was actually from Aklan who studied at the Harrow Seminary. He wanted to become a priest. But you know what happened to him? He was suspended in Harrow Seminary. So he went back to Aklan and he told his father that he want to study engineering in Barcelona, Spain. Ti kun ang time na sang una, 19th century, at the turn of the 19th century, may eskwela kaya sa Spain from the Philippines. Ano ka? Big time, you know? May kwarta ka. Subungan ni, hindi kita katakod lang may eskwela sa CPU lang, halin ka sa iban nga probinsya. Iniya, nag-eskwela siya sa Barcelona, Spain. And of course, he met Missionary Lond. That's what I was talking about earlier. And he became the first Filipino Baptist and the first pastor. So the first Filipino Baptist and the first Filipino pastor was not baptized here in our country, but was baptized in Spain. Very good. And one of the things that they did was to translate the Bible into our local language. And what is that? Hiligaynon. When Spain and the Spaniards came to the Philippines in the year of 15 what? 1517 or 1521. So saan nagabot si Magellan sa may sa may Cebu, sa may Limasawa, siling nila, sa kanta ni Yoyoy Villame, no? For 300 plus years, the Bible that was used by the Filipino was not in their own language. They cannot understand actually the Bible. They were using the Latin Vulgate, the Latin version of the Bible. So galin natin sila, hindi sila kabalo magbasa, pero pangamuyo Latin. This only changed during the 1970s after the Second Vatican Council, in which all Roman Catholic churches nowadays, kung diin sila na situate nga lugar, ang local language dira among ilagin hambal. So subong muna makabati kita sang pare nga naga-Ilonggo nga wali, kag nagabasa sang Bible nga Ilonggo. Pero during those times, Latin ang ila nga pangamuyo, nga wali, kag ilaba ginabasa. And what Manikan and Lond did was very revolutionary. They started translating the Bible, and you know what? Only last year I happened, because this was lost. We have no copy here at the library. We have no copy here in the whole country. These copies exist only in the US. I found this in one of the libraries in the US, and actually I don't have all the pages of that Bible, of that translation, pero manami ang ina nga translation. And of course, they translated the Bible into Hiligaynon, daan nga katipan, bagong katipan. What does katipan means? Testament. Very good. That's the covenant. Now, when they arrived here in the country in the year, guess what? Ano nga year? 1900. So Manikan was baptized in the year 1898. They arrived here 2 years later in the year 1900. And when they arrived, they established 3 mission stations. One in Iloilo, one in Negros, and one in Capiz. And in these stations, they established a church. And the first Baptist church in the Philippines is what? The Harrow Evangelical Church. Where is that located? Sa di na siya lapit sa Mayaro? Okay, lapit lang da sa Mayaro Plaza. Okay, amo na siya. Pero ang First Baptist Church gidya location sa una-una gid, ara da siya subong sa may kilid sang tindahan sa Mayaro. And they have 2 worship services, one in Thursday and one on Sunday. Nga nag-worship sila on Thursday. Kaya ano sa Haro on Thursday? Haro Market Day. It's Wibisan. No? So they worship on Thursdays because there are a lot of people going to Haro during Thursdays. They established this church in 1900, of November of 1900. And then in Negros, they established another church. What is the name of the church? Bacolod Evangelical Church. It has more than 1,000 members now. And then in Capiz, they had another church. And what is that? Capiz Evangelical Church. And this is the headquarters of the Convention of Philippine Baptist Churches. It's in front of the Lopez Haina Shrine in Lopez Haina in Fajardo Street. So, hopefully, you can visit that haunted house. But that is the national headquarters of the Convention of Philippine Baptist Churches. The General Secretary now is Reverend Dr. Gerson Narciso, also a Centralian. And they had 2 hospitals. They established 2 hospitals. And what is that hospital? Iloilo Mission Hospital. That hospital was actually originally constructed by the Presbyterian Mission. But when all the Protestant groups in the Philippines gathered and they decided to split all the major cities of the Philippines into the major groups, the Protestant groups, the Presbyterian decided to transfer to Negros Oriental and Cebu. So that is why the Presbyterian University can be found in Dumaguete. And what is that? Our sister school? Silliman University. And their hospital, they gave it to us, the Baptists. So we have Iloilo Mission Hospital. And another one in Capiz, they established what? Who is he from Capiz? Wala? Okay, one. So, Capiz Emmanuel Hospital. Is that familiar in Capiz? Very good. So, Capiz Emmanuel Hospital is one of the hospital established by the Baptist Mission. Now, they established schools also. And what is that school? The first school is FCU right now. Philomer Christian University. And what is the combination of the word Philomer? Filipino American. Very good. Now, here is the story of Central Philippine University, the second school that they established. It started with a missionary who was sent to Burma to become a missionary. But you know what? One day, he suffered a heat stroke in Burma. He was so disappointed, he was so frustrated that he began questioning God. Lord, why in the world did you send me here in Burma and then suffer a heat stroke? I thought all the while that I was going to be here for the whole duration of my life. But it did not happen. It was not so. He suffered a heat stroke. He was sent back to America, and when he entered the hospital, he was doubting God, he was questioning God. But then all of a sudden, the hospital room opened, and there came a beautiful nurse. And he said, Lord, thank you, I suffered a heat stroke. I was able to see this beautiful creature of yours and said, Lord, thank you that in spite of the heat stroke, I know that you have a great plan and purpose in my life. Amen? In spite of the crisis of our lives, let us learn from this guy. He met Ina Van Jane, a very beautiful Dutch American. And he said, and you know what? This is the guy that we've been talking to. You have seen his picture. or you have seen his statue or his bust, the bronze bust in front or inside our administration building, and probably would be touching his bald head every time you pay in the business office. Okay? This guy is William Valentine. So that's the story of William Valentine. It's a love story. Started with disappointments, started with frustrations, it became a love story, and that love story born was our Harrow Industrial School. Because it was Ina Van Jane when he talked with William Valentine, and he told William Valentine, God has a plan for you. The missionary spirit of William Valentine was once again awakened. And he said, let's go to the Philippines. And they started Harrow Industrial School. You've seen that already? No? Kinahanglan kung magbayad ka, kung tandugon mo ng iya kalbo, may discount ka kuno nga 10%. Okay? That is how he looks like later on. So amid the challenges in life, he put his faith in God again. Sadly, when he became pastor of Bacolod Evangelical Church, he died in Bacolod. And his body were transferred here, and he is there buried in the American cemetery. And every October 1, when we have our foundation day, the officials of Central Philippine University would go to the American cemetery, and we would put flowers at the tomb of William Valentine. But sometimes you can see him in the old Valentine building. Okay? Now, these are some of the old pictures of Central Philippine University. And guess what is the oldest? The oldest is probably this, the Stewart Building. Okay? What is this? Franklin. Very good. How about this? Okay, Lopez, I think. This one? Weston. Very good. This one? Robley. And the traveling palm here is very old. See? It was planted by Rose. So, every time you pass by, palihog hindi nyo pagpuksiya, kay basi kantuan ka mo ni Rose sa inyong damgo. No? So, all around CPU are things that we can touch, we can see, we can visualize. All of this has a heritage. And one of my proposals actually here is that all the buildings should be may ara sa marker, and that marker will have a short description of that building. For example, how many of you know the history of Weston Hall? Is it a girl's name or a boy's name? Okay, a boy's name in a girl's dormitory. Weston. That's the name of the boy of Rose, Francis Rose, who died during the construction of the dormitory for women. So they named it Weston Hall. And when you enter Weston Hall, you will see a big mirror there. Okay? And I dare you to comb your hair in that big mirror. Okay? So after this, you try going there and see what you can see. Now, okay, I have 15 minutes more to go. Now, let me go to the next portion. This would be the culture of CPU. When we say culture, we are talking about the way of life, how you do it. And here at CPU, we are doing it in the Central Spirit way. So our culture, our tradition can be capsulized on what Central Spirit is all about. So, let me start with how many letters is Central Spirit? That would be my outline. I'll do it in 15 minutes. Okay? Now, the first thing is that CPU is what? Can we read that? Okay, commitment to Jesus Christ. Is this familiar to you? Where is this located? prayer gardens. Wala pa nakabalo, wala pa kamuguro nakadate dito. So, prayer garden. Okay? Now, this is what Haro Industrial School is all about. This is what Reverend Valentine wrote. Can we read that in unison? Begin. Yes, that is why we have the University Church at the center of this 24-hectare campus. What do you think is the design of the University Church? It's a Malayan structure designed from the first boat in which our ancestors nagsakay pakadto sa Philippine shores. And we have that in every one of us actually lives in one balangay. And we call that balangay now as barangay. So wala sang ni isa ka Filipino nga wala naga-star sa isa ka barangay. Tanan kita naga-star sa barangay, celebrating that cultural heritage that we have. That is a shared history that we have. So every one of us lives in a barangay, and this church is designed as a barangay. Can you see the bogside there? Okay, that's a boat, and then it looks like also an eagle ready to fly. So gin-add na lang ning bag-o subong na structure at front. So kung magbugsay ka sa isa ka sakayan pang dagat, ang bugsay niyo one direction o kung pwede nga lain-lain direction. Okay? Kaya nga ako hindi mano ka mo matiyog-tiyog. So CPU Church, the University Church, is a reminder for all of us to bugsay in one direction. And that is why we have the College of Theology. Did you know that the first Bible school training is not for boys? It's actually for girls, for women. And this is the person who started that theological training for women pastors. Her name is Anna V. Johnson. And you would probably see her sometimes here waving at you. Okay? And that is the reason why we have the Christ Emphasis Week. And we have devotionals every 4 to 5:30. If you have class actually on during convocation time, MWF 4 to 5:30, you can report that directly to the university president because that is a sacred time here at CPU. It's a tradition from the start of this university. So that time, 4 to 5:30, should be vacant because it is reserved for devotional time and reserved for convocations and seminars such as this. Now, that's why we have the prayer garden, and at the back of one building, we have this. Where does... Okay, at the back of Rose Memorial. Do you know the history behind this? The history behind this is that former President Dr. Juanito Acanto, our airport was in Mandurriao during that time. You remember that? So sa nagasakay sa eroplano, pa Manila siya, paglupad sa eroplano, siling niya kitao ng CPU, pero wala gid mensahe ang CPU ba? So kitao ng likod sa Rose Memorial. So when he arrived back at the campus, pinpapintahan niya sang sininga pinta. So every time nga maglupad ang eroplano, CPU is still proclaiming the message of the gospel. So that's a great story. Now, secondly, CPU, can we read that? Begin. Yes. And I hope that here at CPU, you will experience freedom. You will experience that your imagination should be freed from any imprisonment. Kabay pa ang inyo pag-eskwela dire, wala ginapunggan ang inyo paminsaron, wala ginapunggan ang inyo imagination. Kaya ang CPU isa ka-eskwelahan nga nagahilway sa inyo. It's a school that will make you free both in your thinking and in your imagination. Can we read what Reverend Valentine recounted? Begin. So this is a school that started with 17 boys. And now, previously, 2 years ago, we were 14,000. Now we are 11,000 because of K-12. When we reach the number of 15,000, we will become the biggest Baptist university in the whole world. Okay? Now, the third thing would be, a Centralian never forgets the roots of CPU. Have you been in this place, in the campus? This is where the replica of the Hopevale Cathedral of the Glen is located. It's in between Rose Memorial and Henry Luce Library. These are the missionaries who were killed in Tapas, Capiz during World War II because they do not want to surrender to the Americans. So, these are their names. Now, that's the Hopevale Memorial. And you can see the cross there. It signifies that the tasks of these American Baptist missionaries are not yet finished. And that task is passed on to all of us, Centralians. So we better be brave enough to accept the challenge. Now, here is one interesting poem written by Jenny Claire Adams, and it survived the fire and the massacre that happened to them on that year. So may ara kita copy sini kag na-publish siya nga copy. So we better read this copy. Can we read that in unison? Begin. Knowing no hour of dread, feeling no anxious fear, for death is but a door, closed tight on pain and strife, a door that opens up that we may enter life. As heroes die, still brave and true, let me die too. So it's a 4-part poem. One of the parts I printed there. But you know what? The story of the American Baptist missionaries did not die in Hopevale. It continued. This guy, his name is Commander Mitsuo Fuchida. Are you familiar with this guy? He was the commander of the planes that attacked Pearl Harbor. He was the one who declared the code word during the time was the code word was Tora, Tora, Tora. So Tora, Tora, Tora means what? Tiger, tiger, tiger. So they attacked Pearl Harbor on his command, Mitsuo Fuchida. He survived World War II, but later, after the death of the American Baptist missionaries here in Tapas, Capiz, one of the daughters of those who died there published the story of what happened in Capiz. And Mitsuo Fuchida happened to read that story. And when he read that story, he was so convicted with the sin that he committed during the war that he decided to become a Christian when he heard the story of Peggy Covell. So that book now is actually out. I am a friend of this guy. When he was doing his research in the US, he would send me questions and I would answer them. And it also talks about the story of CPU in that book. So you try finding it in YouTube, because hopefully the movie would come out soon, in 2 years' time or 3 years' time. So this is Commander Fuchida. He became a Christian and an evangelist, the right hand actually of Reverend Billy Graham during the 1960s. Wow. The story of the Baptist missionaries did not die with them. Now, let us read what the chairman of the Board of Trustees of CPU after World War II. The name of the chairman is Lopez, the family name. The Lopez of the ABS-CBN. Their great-grandfather was the chairman of the Board of Trustees and the donor of our Lopez Hall. Okay? Now let us read that. Begin. Coming after us, that no war of man or machine can destroy the central spirit, and that like a river forever seeking the ocean, The college must go on no matter what the difficulties. Believe it or not, after the war, they had their central echo. And they would just put their central echo on one bulletin board, and all the students would just come there and read the central echo. Okay? CPU opened at Baptist Center Church, not here in the campus, because ginkayo pang campus naton. Actually, some of the grenades of the Japanese were just unearthed a few months ago in front of the University Church. Kung nakita nyo, dami nag-obrada subong, pinakutkutan ba da sila? Kaya gin-turnover naton sa pulis. So, grabe ning lugar ang aton campus during World War II. Now, on April 1, 1953, we became what? University. Okay? So actually, not September 1 ang aton new day, it's actually April 1. Galing kay summer. So, gin-change naton subong. Ang September naton nga new day, ginimo na naton October 1. Kaya nga, para maka-prelim pa man kita. Kagang aton ni Nampang, hindi ba mag-start na yun? Para kay eskwela man tatanay Mayo. Okay? Now, this guy is the first Filipino president. What's his name? Rex Drilon. And every year on February, we have our Rex Drilon Day, headed also by Ma'am Huyong. He's the first Filipino president. Now, the next point would be letter T. Centralian should have this. Trait of a missionary. Now, can we read that? Begin. People who are here are not hirelings, but are called to become ministers of God in various capacities in relation to their skills. Thus, employees rise up above economics. CPU employees then are willing to go an extra mile and give sacrifices. One does not count hours if their orientation is missionary. So, CPU is a what? A mission field. Now, the next thing would be the religious principles of the Baptist. Let me name a few. First is what? The authority of the Bible. It's not the authority of the pastor, it's the authority of the Bible. The next would be believers' baptism. Kita nyo na, limpyo pang tubig. Suli, nagigko na. No? Kaya muna kaigko sang sala naton. So, baptism, Jesus was baptized in what river? Michael Jordan, the Jordan River. He was baptized there, and that is what baptism is all about, immersion. At CPU, we also believe on religious liberty. How many of you here are Roman Catholics? Okay, almost. How many of you here are Protestants? See? Only 4, 5. So 90% are Roman Catholics, 10% are Protestants. So that's religious liberty. Because in some schools, they would not, and that's another thing that we have here at CPU. Because of our tradition, we have prayer time. So let's pause for a while so that we will respect the 4 o'clock prayer habit. Okay, thank you. Now, another thing here at CPU, letter A, is what? Academic excellence. Now, let me mention a few. Since 2001, we are only one of the few universities in the Philippines to achieve autonomous status. All academic programs accredited level 3, and some now are level 4. We are also 9001, 2000 certified, now 2015. Sorry, I did not update this. This is now 2015 certification. The next here at Central Spirit, here at CPU, we have what? Love for alma mater and fellow Centralians that brings about the sense of familiar relationship. There is a true story that happened in Mindanao. A Centralian was traveling, kagabi na ang labutan niya nga lugar, way siya kabalo kung din siya magkanto. So he prayed nga kung din siya dalon kay way siya kabalo, way siya kilala sa sinang lugar. And while praying, after that, he started humming the Central May Central. Nag-hum lang siya. Sang Central May Central. And then, there was another person in the bus nga nagbalikid, ginagambal, Centralian ka? Siling niya, oo. Yati din ka makadto, yaway guni kabalo, kung di gumigda, yati dito ka karon sa balay star. Central Spirit. That is true. So, nagtabo na sang centennial, some of the pictures, and we have fellowships every year. Now, one of the traits of being a Centralian is naghahatag sila balik sa ila alma mater. Do you know the story behind this gate? This was donated by Johnny Proximo, one of the multimillionaires who started as a work student, janitor of Weston Hall. Sang nagasugod pa lang si Manny Villar sa iya negosyo, mas dako pa ni negosyo ni Johnny Proximo sa una. Subong patay na siya, ang iya family na lang nag-manage sina. But then, this building once again is a testimony of rags to riches. Ano ni nga building, alam niya? Uy. This was donated by Dr. Alfonso Uy. Ang nanay niya labandera, sang sinanay niya nagapanglaba, nagapamangkot, din ko pa-eskwelaho na akong bata man, may nagsabat siya nga labandera man, pa-eskwela, bata mo sa CPO, kay gabaton sila work student. Ginpadala niya bata, nag-eskwela, chemical engineering, and graduated magna cum laude, and he became the top of the board of the chemical engineering, engineering, or mechanical, I think so, chemical or mechanical. But he's now the owner of Amigo Hotel and many more nga mga negosyo. Rags to riches. Alfonso Oy. Dali na lang tatapos. 5 minutes more. Here at CPU, we what? We have servant leadership and we are service-oriented. Now, here are the words of Dr. Robles. Can we read that? Begin. Serving the university is not just another teaching position, not just another office job. Hopefully, we are here not because of the pay, but to contribute to the accomplishment of the vision and mission of CPU. That is what service-oriented is all about. Now, the next tradition that we have here, the culture that we have is what? Pastoral leadership. Now, you may ask, why are there a lot of pastors in positions here at CPU? Because all of our American Baptist missionaries who became presidents of CPU were all pastors. Valentine, Rose, Bigelow, Munger, okay, these are all pastors. You will see their pictures at the back of the admin building when you get your RF there. Our former Vice President for Academic Affairs was a pastor. He's a pastor. Dr. Fabula. Graduated in Germany in one of the prestigious schools, Tübingen University. Top 3 university in Germany. Reverend Hiko is now our VP for Student Affairs. He's not just a pastor, but he's also a mechanical engineer. Now, let's continue with letter I. What's letter I? Begin. Incorporation set by university, which are faith, character, justice, stewardship, and excellence. So here at CPU, we promote what? Love. We promote honesty. Okay? We also promote the preservation of our environment. before Iloilo City had a no smoking program or policy or law, we already had it here at CPU. Now, the next culture would be the role of the Baptist leadership and the relationship of other Baptist institutions. This is the composition of the 15 members of the Board of Trustees of CPU. 14 of these members out of 15 are members of a Baptist church. You see, because it is enshrined in the Constitution of Central Philippine University that at least 10 out of 15 members of the board should come from the Convention of Philippine Baptist Churches. And more than 50%, 51% of the members of the CPU Corporation should come from the Convention of Philippine Baptist Church. So this institution is really a Baptist institution. And this is our partner in America, the American Baptist Churches. And they will be coming here next month for our CEW from the American Baptist Churches of Rocky Mountains, Colorado. So mga cowboy ding makadto sa aton next month. Okay? Kung gusto nyo makilala ang mga ngalan sang ibanta ng mga American Baptist missionaries, you go to where? Our wall of remembrance sa kilid sang Henry Luce Library. Okay? Now, the next thing would be what? Integration of Fides in all studies as an educational perspective. All your teachers now, I believe, have given you the course description. And the course description, there would be an objective there that says the integration of Christian values in the curriculum, in your studies. And your teachers would always relate it to Christian values. For example, when you teach biology, you're not just teaching the study of life, but you're also teaching that life comes from God and life is beautiful. Amen? Yes. Where can we see this? At the Loreto Topaz building. From a life of unbelief to a life of faith in God. That is one of the mission of CPU. Now, the last thing would be Central Spirit is all about the total development of a person. Can you still memorize the mission? It's everything. Holistic. Total development. That's why we have outreach. Now, another challenge for us from the former chairman of CPU. Is this name familiar to you? The former Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary. He was the chairman before of CPU, also a Centralian. This is what he said. This is during the time of Erap Estrada. He was the first one who stand up for what is right. He stood for justice and what is right. As Centralians, fight the good fight. Keep the faith and the spirit you learned and imbibed from this university we all love. That is why he stood against Erap Estrada. Former Dean of the College of Theology, he said, the task will not be easy. Okay? But God, who has called you to this task, will be with you. So, what is our mission? It's the transformation of life. Who is this? The longest serving president of CPU, Dr. Agustin Pulido. Picture yan isang pagsugod yung lang presidente. Subong 80 plus years old na siya. Makita na sa kisa sa admin, nagasaka na siya. So, Dr. Pulido is a chemist by profession. Siling niya, ang CPU kuno hindi dapat fossilized. The term fossilization, makita nyo ni Permesa kung mag-unearth kita sa mga dinosaurs, fossils. It should be sustained by what? A living faith. This is what Dr. Pulido said. And lastly, former President Dr. Acanto. He said, "May Excel be your guide in every decision and action that you make." Okay? Do it well with your vision intact so that you can prove to the world that you can make a difference because you are a Centralian. You can make a difference because you are a Centralian. Can we say it again? We can make a difference because we are Centralians. Begin. We can make a difference because we are Centralians. Amen. So in closing, I'll leave this to you. This is the guide that I just mentioned, an outline of what Central Philippine University is all about, the culture and tradition of CPU. There are many more, but due to limited time, this would be it for us this afternoon. So I would now take some questions for you in the next 5 minutes if you want to have some clarifications. I hope that this background will give you an idea of what CPU is all about, and later when you concretize this and realize this in your artwork, you will remember this. Do we have questions?
This would be the basis of your artwork. The CPU.
When you go around the campus and when you see the acacia trees and the anahaw trees, ang mga anahaw magiging pangtanom na ni Francis Rose, ang mga acacia gin pangtanom na sa mga American Baptist missionaries. So when you are under those trees, you remember the rich heritage of CPU. The open spaces in our campus. Subong medyo nagagutok kita, pero sa tunga may open space gid kita para maghatag ang mind naton sang hindi bala mag-clutter imo mind, hindi maggutok ang imo paminsaron, kundi diri sa CPU ginagaan ka sang space to be who you are. Except when you are required to have your dress code. Yeah. Okay, any question? Clarification, or you want to simply comment? Ano gid ang nag-stand out sa inyo sa pag-presenta for 30 minutes? Missionary trait, service-oriented. Ano mga nag-stand out sa culture sa CPU? History, yeah, the rich heritage. So kung wala na, I'll give this time to Sir F, or we'll have a break for 3 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so I hope that somehow you have learned something, if not a lot. Or too much. Have you learned too much? Anyway, at this point, we would like to give our token and certificate of appreciation to Pastor Neil. Okay, so Pastor Neil, please come forward.